up, everyone? This is Matt and Matt from Hey Now Media, and you're actually tuning into our very first podcast. Recently, we asked our LinkedIn audience to submit questions or things that they were working on or thinking about within their own businesses that we could answer on this podcast. And so today we have our very first question from Rob Ross. Rob asks, first steps to getting a new business off the ground, how to gain traction and broader appeal. And so I'm going to have Matt Sobel answer that question for us.
Well, thank you, Rob, for asking this question. It's a great question that we get asked all the time. The first thing that I would think about when discussing how to get a new business off the ground is, who is your target market that you're looking to serve? We're looking to really closely define who your audience is and who the business is looking to sell to. And the next thing is, what value are we specifically providing to them, and how are we helping them either make their life easier or solve a problem or provide value to them in some way that they're willing to make a purchase and support your business. So those are two of the first topics that I would think about. Matt Brower, what would you add to that?
So it's actually interesting. So I've actually been helping Rob get this business going, and I was curious to kind of see what you would say and see how they would line up with mine. And so that was exactly where we started, kind of understanding who the target market is and really what resonates with them and what values do they have, and then understanding what value you have and how that aligns with them. And from there, sort of the next step that we started talking about and working on is sort of what's the message. So you understand who you're speaking to and what value you provide to them and how those things align with what resonates with the audience. And then you need to create a really clear message around all of those things and deploy that out. And so some of the things that we do to create those messages, we do, if you Google Forbes message map, there's a really cool activity that'll help you sort of create a very clear and concise message. And then also looking into creating a sales story. And there's a formula out there to really look at who are you speaking to and what are their pain points and what is it that you deliver that is solving those pain points, and creating a sales story through that structure is actually really helpful. And so once you understand who you're speaking to and the value you bring to them, creating a very clear message to deliver to them is sort of the next step. And once you have those things, you can get into deploying the message.
Yep, and I would say that those are the things that immediately come to mind from a marketing and branding perspective of the first steps to getting a new business off the ground. But of course, there are a variety of things that as entrepreneurs we've gone through that we know you have to potentially be hiring a staff and go through trademarking and a bunch of legal work and doing all the things to get yourself set up properly before you get started. And then you can get into all of the marketing stuff to make sure that you have the potential to create sales and growth and create the business model that sells according to the pro forma and your projections that you're hoping for.
Right. And I think sort of around the business operations and sort of things that you need to start, and then the marketing piece around what are you even doing and providing and what's that message. There's another component that I kind of talk about a lot and think about a lot in getting a business going, and that's sales. And really, once you really understand who you're speaking to and what you're saying to them as clear as possible, I'm a firm believer in getting your first project, even if you do it for free, getting that momentum going and getting the ball rolling with your first client and giving them the best experience you could possibly give to them, delight them as much as you possibly can, create a future customer, create tons of word of mouth, tap into their network, but also just get the juices flowing for your company. And once you get that first sale, you can get more very easily.
Yep. I totally agree with that. That's something that we experience and we suggest all the time is when it comes to pricing at the beginning, giving away your services for free or doing them at a highly discounted model as cheap as you can, and not underselling yourself, but giving yourself the opportunity to build a volume and a portfolio of work and of happy customers that can be your brand advocates and your supporters and help you learn what you're doing right, learn what you're doing wrong right at the beginning, and kind of get that off the ground early is a great strategy. It's something that we had to do and we see people doing all the time as a sales strategy. And I think that Matt started to touch on something, which is really having a sales strategy and thinking about that as a priority from the beginning. I think it's really fun to think about products and services and ways that you can provide value and start a new business. But a lot of people wait until they've figured out what the product is or the service is before they figure out how they're going to sell it. And it's really important at the early stages of starting a new business to figure out what your sales strategy is going to be and how you're going to find the audience of people and build an audience and connect with that audience and sell to that audience, because otherwise you just have a product that's not going to go anywhere.
Yep, and I think another important thing you started touching on too, that as you start to do projects or get sales, really observing and learning as much as possible through that and tweaking and changing and honing in on the thing that you're doing best, that is delighting people the most, that hopefully is your most profitable thing, and really focusing on that and learning from that and taking time to just, not everything's going to be perfect up front. Just get out there and do it and get some sales and offer the product and make it better next time if you have to. And really, while you're doing that, make sure you're paying attention and learning to everything that's going on, what's working, what's not working. That'll be your best case study to figure out how to really hone in on this business, especially in the early stages. It's much better to just post or sell or do things up front rather than waiting to make it perfect. And you want to find a balance. You don't want to just go out there not having any clue what you're doing and not offering a great product or service. But getting that flowing is really a great step. So really, I think today, looking at if I were to start my business, I would be trying to really understand, A, what is it that I'm doing? What's my passion? What's my vision? Kind of where am I going with this? And then B, who's that target audience? And what are their values? And what are they resonating with? And then from there, I'm looking at the third step of what value do I bring and what values do I have and where do my values align with my target audience's values? And then the fourth thing is, how do you create a very clear message around what you do and the value you provide so that you can deliver it to the audience? Number 5, let's get some sales. Let's take that message. Let's call people. You can email people. You can talk to your friends, your family, anyone. Offer a free product, offer a discounted product, beta test, whatever you have to do, get some sales under your belt so that you can learn. Step number 6. And so those are the steps we would take. We didn't really get into deployment of any sort of marketing or sales tactics or messages. Those are very high strategic sort of steps that I would take. And so let's get into looking at, okay, we've got some sales. We have a tiny bit of revenue to reinvest in marketing. We have a very clear message. We're targeting people pretty well. We've learned some things, and we're moving on. Let's deploy our marketing message to a larger audience and talk about some tactics. So, Matt, what do you think? You're starting this new business. You just, got a couple sales under your belt, and you're going to deploy a marketing campaign. And it doesn't have to be a paid campaign. You could use organic, free things. People, if you're an entrepreneur, you're starting a business, you need to put time and invest time. And so organic social media just takes time. It doesn't cost anything. How would you start this?
Sure. So I think that the first point to clarify is that this strategy completely depends on who your target market is and where they are and where they're spending their time engaging. So if your target market is a younger audience, they're going to be spending time on certain social media platforms. And if it's an older audience or a professional audience, they're going to be spending their time on other platforms and other resources. So really determining that up front is important. I think for this example, it'd be great to kind of think through if I was starting a company that was offering a service or selling in a B2B space, something that was more of a technical service or product.
Or if you're Rob and you're going into a educational programming consulting business.
Okay. Or if you're going into an educational programming consulting business, I would really start to think about building out a presence on LinkedIn organic. I would start to build out my profile as the first step and create my profile as almost like a landing page to drive people through what the values are that I can provide and give them places to connect with me through connecting out to a website or connecting to an email address or a phone number with a call to action, really trying to drive traffic from your LinkedIn page to have people contact you. And then go out there and try to find the types of businesses, the businesses and the decision makers at those businesses that you can engage with and start to follow them, start to connect with them, and start to try to get into the conversation with them and provide value so that they know who you are. And when they start to look at your profile because you've engaged with them, they'll learn about your company as well. And it's a great organic way for free to start gaining traction and kind of start a campaign without spending any money and doing it all yourself.
So are you referring to the account-based marketing stuff that we've been implementing with our clients and ourselves on LinkedIn?
Yes. This is a very similar strategy that we've been running for our clients and for ourselves to gain clients. Essentially, the idea is that we prospect on LinkedIn and do some research to find companies that we think would be a great fit for us, or we help our clients find companies that would be a great fit for them. And then we start to deliver content and strategic messages to just connect with the person, maybe comment on an article that they wrote, maybe provide value to them or help them with the challenge they're asking a question about, and really just get on their radar. And then we're able to add them into a marketing campaign where we're targeting paid advertising towards them, or we're targeting email advertising towards them, and we're able to really get great results that way. And it's a very specific account-based way without really casting a wide net to get great results in the B2B space.
And is this something you could do just on LinkedIn, or do you need some sort of special tool or program to do this?
It's something that you can start doing on LinkedIn without tools, but there's definitely an advantage to getting a pro seat. And there's something called LinkedIn Sales Navigator that can be very helpful. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is kind of a behind-the-scenes LinkedIn tool that allows you to create lists and gain some insights about your prospects that you might not be able to see without the tool. And it also allows you to view every single person that's viewed your profile and give you some more insights into the action that's happening on your profile and who's seeing you.
Gotcha. So basically it's an organic method to interact with your best fit customers and provide them value, and take content or educational material, things that will really provide them value, and engage with them using that on the LinkedIn platform. So that's a tactic that we've seen a lot of results with and success with within our client base and our own company as well. So I think that's a really great way to start. I also believe in, that's the tactic to engage with the people in the audience and deploy the message. But actually creating the content that you're going to provide them and the value you're going to provide them is something that needs to be figured out too. And so one thing that we've kind of been playing with and figuring out is, the reason why we started this podcast, and really understanding, if you're an artist, or if you'll be great on video, or if you are a good writer, or you can really do podcasting. And so we decided we're good at audio, and we wanted to do that, and started this podcast. And so we really recommend figuring that out and then just creating. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be a very high production. It's just give the skill or the talent or the passion or the value or education that you have to the audience in whatever format is the best for you, and just start posting things. And the worst thing that could happen is people might, leave comments or that, but really you'll start to learn what's working, what's not working, how can I do this better. Just getting it started is really important. And so having that content to provide the people you're engaging with through that LinkedIn strategy is a really strong first step and doesn't really cost any money. And then if you do have small budgets that you start growing and you want to reinvest into your marketing and advertising, you could definitely use Google AdWords, the LinkedIn platform, Facebook platform, depending on your audience, even if you start with a couple $100 just to see how it's going to work and what's going on. There's lots of tips and tricks, and if it's something that you're not capable of doing, and that's not what you want to focus your time on as the entrepreneur, then find someone who could help you do it. But there's tons of how-to videos and things on technically how to set up an advertisement, and if you're creating the content, then the advertisement content is already created. You just need to understand how to place the ad. And so once you do that, you'll start to get a little wider of an audience. You'll reach more people, and that'll start bringing them into that funnel. And so those are the tactics that we would definitely recommend. Within the platforms, the last conversation as we wrap this up here today, sort of a homework assignment for everyone is just really understand the platforms. How are they used? Who is on the platform? What skills does it take to be successful on those platforms? And one last thing, what was that?
And what questions do you have for us about platforms? If there's any other questions that come up specific to platforms, we'd be happy to dive into those and do a deeper dive to answer any questions. Please submit those. We're going to be doing this way more frequently.
Exactly. And if once you understand what those platforms do and how they work and who's on them and why those people are on them, you could start crafting your content around that and specifically delivering to that audience and to that platform. And so that's really it for today. We really thank Rob for submitting the question. Rob Ross was our first question of the Hey Now Media podcast. And so this is Matt and Matt signing off from Hey Now Media. We'll catch you soon. All right. Well, we really appreciate everyone for listening. Thank you, Rob, for our very first question of the podcast. And today's podcast, it really got into a lot of different topics. It was a great question. We kind of covered brand strategy, looked at sales and sales strategy, and we got very technical on some marketing tactics with account-based marketing and how to get into prospecting and delivering a message to that audience who is your best fit customer. So definitely look into all of these things, Google them, call us, email us, whatever you need to do. We'd love to hear from you, and submit your questions on LinkedIn in the comments. We have tons of posts and articles. We'll see them all and we'll answer them all. Until next time, thanks for listening.